They thought it would be fun. Just a late-night hike through Fletchertown woods. Jenna, Eric, and Marcus. 3 friends chasing a thrill. Chasing a legend, the Goat Man, a half-human horror that haunts the forests near Prince George's County, Maryland. Born from a lab experiment gone wrong. Now, just a shadow with horns, an axe, and a taste for blood. They parked near the overgrown trail, laughing nervously.
"We'll just walk to the old bridge and wait for it,"
Eric said. They started down the path, flashlights cutting through the dark like weak beams in thick fog. The forest was unnaturally still. No crickets, no wind. Only the sound of their shoes stepping on gravel and leaves. Then Jenna heard it. She froze.
Shh, did you hear that?
"Bird?" Marcus replied, but his voice wasn't sure. Another sound. Closer. This time, they all heard it. Then came the smell. Wet fur and old rusty metal. The hair on Jenna's arms rose. Something was wrong. That's when Eric's flashlight flickered, then died. So did Marcus's and Jenna's. No one said a word. Then, a crack. Twigs snapping. Something was moving behind them, then all around them. Heavy, deliberate. Hooves. Jenna turned, eyes wide, trying to make out shapes in the dark. That's when she saw it. Just for a second, caught in a flash of moonlight through the trees. A hulking figure, half man, half beast. Matted fur, bent horns glinting like knives. Its face was twisted. It breathed like a bull. And in one hand, it held something long and jagged. An axe. Eric ran. Marcus followed. Jenna turned to run, but the eerie sound pierced the air again, this time right behind her ear. She didn't look back. Branches clawed at her as she tore through the woods, heart hammering. She didn't stop until she reached the road, collapsing in front of a passing driver. She was the only one who made it out. The search for her missing friends went on for days. No sign of Eric, no sign of Marcus, except for Eric's phone. It was found face down on the ground. The last few seconds, hooves, breathing, and then Elliot, a 34-year-old skeptic and an investigative journalist, prided himself on separating truth from folklore. Elliot groaned when his editor pitched a feature story on the infamous Bunnyman Bridge.
Great, a Halloween fluff piece,
he thought, but it was a paycheck. The bridge was an old railway overpass, its walls marked with decades of graffiti. During the day, it seemed harmless, even dull. But at night, it took on an eerie feel. The stories all pointed to this place, the supposed lair of a vengeful spirit or madman, dressed in a rabbit costume, who lived in the woods. Elliot arrived just as the sun dipped below the horizon, the woods surrounding the bridge darkening with each passing second. Armed with a flashlight and trusty tape recorder, he began documenting his findings.
Local legend claims the Bunnyman haunts this area.
Speaking into the recorder.
In the 1900s, an escaped convict from an asylum was said to have taken refuge here. Some say he hunted rabbits for food. Others claimed he hunted humans, leaving their bodies hanging from the bridge like gruesome trophies.
The wind picked up, rustling the nearby trees.
Ridiculous,
he muttered, trying to shake off the creeping unease. As he moved closer to the bridge, his flashlight caught something, a thin wire strung between 2 trees. He crouched, narrowing his eyes.
Tripwire?
He murmured, clicking on his recorder again.
Someone's been here recently.
The sound came from deeper in the woods. Elliot froze, his breath clouding the air.
Hello?
He called, his voice straining to sound confident. No reply. But then came the crunch of footsteps, slow and drawing closer. He swung the flashlight toward the noise, the beam slicing through the trees.
If this is a prank, it's not funny,
he said. The beam landed on something white. At first, Elliot thought it was a tree trunk, but then it moved. A figure, tall and lean, wearing a tattered rabbit suit, its fabric worn and stained. The figure's head tilted, the oversized bunny mask cracked and filthy. Elliot stumbled back, his recorder slipping from his hand. The figure didn't rush. It stepped forward slowly, dragging something behind it. A hatchet, its edge catching the faint moonlight.
"Stay back!"
Elliot shouted, fumbling for anything he could use as a weapon. His flashlight shook, the beam aiming at the figure. It paused, its head tilting again, as if considering him. Elliot's stomach dropped. He bolted, his feet pounding against the uneven ground. Branches whipped at his face, but he didn't stop. The footsteps behind him quickened, the sound of dragging metal growing louder. Reaching his car, he fumbled for his keys, his hands trembling uncontrollably. Finally, he jammed the key into the lock, opened the door, and dove inside. The engine roared to life, and he sped away, the bridge disappearing in his rearview mirror. The next morning, Elliot sat at his desk, staring at his blank notepad. He left his recorder in the woods. All he could manage to write was a single sentence. Sometimes, legends are better left alone. In the rural plains of Venezuela and Colombia, the people don't sleep easily when the sun goes down. Not because of wild animals, not because of ghosts, but because of El Silbón, the Whistler. They say he was an only child, a dangerous and cruel spoiled brat. One night, he demanded deer meat for dinner, but his father returned empty-handed. In a fit of rage, he killed him. He then gave his mother a plate of meat to cook. When she realized it wasn't deer meat, she screamed. The grandfather came running. When he saw what the son had done, he cursed him. He tied him to a post, punished him to no avail, and had the dogs finish him. The grandfather doomed his soul to wander, forever carrying a sack filled with the father's bones, and of those in the centuries to come. That was long ago, but he's still out there. The people say El Silbón walks through the night, tall and gaunt like a scarecrow, his bones cracking with each step. His whistle never stops, and it plays tricks on your ears. If the whistle sounds far, he's close right behind you. But if it sounds near, you might be safe. Those who hear him are marked. He hunts the drunkards, the abusers, and the sinners. And when he chooses a victim, he reaches into his sack and pulls out bones from his endless collection to compare them. If yours fits the empty space, he takes you, and no one ever sees you again. One night, a traveler passing through the Llanos stopped at a lonely inn. The locals warned him, "Don't drink too much. Don't wander too far. If you hear someone whistle, run or pray." But the man laughed it off.
"Superstition and silly ghost stories,"
he said. By midnight, he was 3 drinks in. By 1 a.m., he was stumbling through the fields, humming. He thought he heard someone whistling a melody.
"Cute prank,"
he muttered. Then he heard bones cracking behind him. He turned to look behind him, but no one was there. He started to walk faster. The whistle grew softer and softer. Then, by the time the villagers found him in the morning, he was lying on the ground, cold, eyes wide open, no visible wounds except a small tear beneath his ribcage. They said that El Silbón had seen and chosen him that night, and the bone fit perfectly. So if you're ever in the plains and you hear a whistle in the dark, don't stop, don't turn around, and don't you dare ignore it, because El Silbón doesn't knock. He doesn't shout. He whispers with a whistle. It happened on the outskirts of the town, where the pine trees grow too close together and the fog rolls thick enough to smother you. Jamie had heard the story a dozen times, about a man with a rusted hook where his hand should be, about how he escaped from an asylum decades ago in the late 1950s and was never caught, and still wanders the back roads at night, listening for parked cars and teenage laughter. She didn't believe any of it, which is why, when her boyfriend Ryan pulled over on that forgotten road near Miller's Point, she didn't hesitate. They were wrapped in a blanket of darkness. The only light was from the dashboard and the occasional beam of moonlight slicing through the trees.
Don't you think this place is kind of perfect for a ghost story?
Ryan teased, leaning back in his seat. Jamie rolled her eyes.
Ugh, don't start it.
Ryan grinned.
Okay, but if we hear scratching on the roof, then we...
A sudden thud interrupted him. Something hit the back of the car. They froze.
Probably a branch.
Ryan said, though his voice had lost its cocky tone. He cracked the window to listen, only to be met with silence so thick it rang in their ears. Then, the soft tapping of metal on metal, like something dragging across the side of the car. Jamie gasped.
Ryan!
He was already turning the key. The engine sputtered, then roared to life. He slammed it into reverse, but when the headlights flickered on, they illuminated something moving at the tree line. A figure, lean, drenched in shadow, and at the end of its right arm gleamed a long, curved hook. Ryan floored it. The tires screeched as gravel flew, and the figure vanished behind a blur of branches and smoke. They didn't speak until they were halfway back to town. Both were pale, shaking. Jamie clutched the door, staring at the road ahead. When they pulled into Jamie's driveway, they sat in silence, the engine ticking as it cooled.
Must have been a prank. Some sicko in a costume.
Ryan said. Jamie nodded, but her hand trembled as she reached for the door. Then, they got out and saw it, scratched deep into the passenger side of the car. You were lucky. They reported it to the authorities, but there wasn't much else they could do. Some say the hook man waits on that same road till this day, listening for engines, a teen's laughter, or the sound of young love. But mostly, he listens for silence, because in silence, that's when he strikes. Have you ever had a creepy encounter with any of these urban legends? If so, please share it in the comments. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like and subscribe for weekly creepy urban legend stories just like these.